Let yourself be swept away by the timeless pleasures of Celtic moods.
Top of the morning, posers, and welcome to Punklato Pod. I'm your co-host, Justin Hensley.
Hello, and God and Mary be with you. Well, there's. Where do we go from here?
I don't know.
Out just immediately.
Yes, welcome to this year's entry into the St. Paddy's Day special, where we talk about a Celtic punk record. And I don't really want to tip too much of what we feel about the record, but I don't even know really what your thoughts on the record is, but before you went into listening to it, I think you texted me something along the lines of, you don't know how badly I don't want to listen to this right now.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and say this much. I went to go listen to the record, and I'm like, oh, it's not on Tidal. Great. Mm-hmm. Trying to make the ethical choices in my streaming platforms. Not everything's on there.
Yeah, that was the complaint I saw the people had for Tidal, was it just didn't have everything.
I haven't really run into much. I used to run it. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that wasn't on Spotify that I would run into that issue. So yeah, so I just ended up listening. I was gonna go for a walk, and I was gonna listen to the record on the walk, and I was like, oh great, well I can't even listen to it, so I'd listen to something else. Had to come back to it later. So then I was just built up the dread for it and the frustration of not having been able to listen to it on the platform that when I was planning to do it. So then I was like, great, now I really don't want to do this.
Well, that's a nice teaser for once we get into it. But if you head to patreon.com/punklautopod, it's where you get access to all of our weekly bonus audio. Where last week we did a I'm Listening News of the World 2-in-1, where we talked about the stories and the music we listened to over the last 2 weeks. I also posted the next installment of the 21st Century Breakdown in there. That is my ranking the top 100 personal favorite albums of the 21st century so far. I started it last year, so I'm wrapping it up this year. I do have 4 more parts of it to record, but working through it. And trying to think if there's anything else missing over there. I think that's all as far as what I posted there. There should be a new guest list coming soon. It may be up when this is released, not entirely sure, but if it is up, I am talking to Tim Popkid, who ran Popkid Records, as well as a few different blogs, and I think Zach Morgan is who introduced me to him, so looking forward to that. I had him make a list of his top favorite obscure or deep cuts, so it's a very interesting list that he's given me. I've been listening to it for the last few weeks to get ready for it, and it's a lot of stuff I didn't expect, and it's a cool little list, so I cannot wait to actually have that conversation. So let's shout out our producers. So shout out to, we already said him, Zach in Oregon. Shout out to Dave Brown, writer of the newsletter Oklahoma Lefty, and my co-host on Bookenders. Shout out to Steve Long, host of the podcast Rebel Nerd Radio, and shout out to Jason W., writer of the newsletter Songs About Chocolate and Girls. And if you want your name said every week, as well as the ability to vote in the producer-exclusive polls, sign up for that $5 tier, and then we have a $10 tier where you choose the album we devote an entire episode to, and we have one of those coming up. All right, so like I said, this is our Celtic punk episode. We do this once a year around St. Patrick's Day, because it is one of the few genres that has a punk subgenre. It's specifically a punk genre. And we do this for our Halloween time, where we do our psychobilly, horror punk, death rock stuff. But this is another one of those ones where it's there's an actual genre that kind of ties directly into a specific holiday that could work for us. I also think I don't know if we've ever really done it, but I do think we should do a Christian punk or a spirit-filled hardcore record for Easter. I think we should start doing that. I know we talk about a lot of that kind of stuff throughout the year.
Yeah, that was my thinking is it specific enough?
I mean,
and do we avoid it normally? Are we going to start avoiding it?
I mean, maybe. Maybe if we do have a dedicated thing. But we don't also avoid ska all year round. Sometimes we do ska for Skagists, so outside of Skagists. So we don't have to be hardline, no, we're not going to talk about this until it's Easter, but I do think we should do something because it's a genre. It's called Christian punk. It's called spirit-filled hardcore. So there is an actual genre title, and that's kind of why I was thinking that. But we'll have to talk about it when it comes up in April. So, but yeah, I think we were saying back and forth that this may be our least favorite gimmick we do, or least favorite gimmick, episode we do, just because it's probably also one of the most limited genres that we have to work with. It kind of seems like there were like 20 Celtic punk bands ever, and then they're the ones who just keep releasing records over and over again. But I don't know. We did this in the way where we do the here's your year, and you got to pick something from it. And so it was my turn to actually pick. So there weren't a ton of options for 2006, hence why we're doing a record from a band you've probably never heard of, because I'd never heard of them before choosing them. So yeah, that's what we're dealing with today. Before we get into all the Celtic stuff, though, the year we pulled from was the year 2006. And Dylan, what is going on outside of Celtic punk in 2006?
A lot of stuff. And I remember it all because I was 16. And a lot of hardcore. A lot of versions of hardcore. Mathcore. Converge put out No Heroes. Norma Jean put out Redeemer. The follow-up to Oh God, The Aftermath.
Snoozer of an album, too.
Pretty unmemorable. It's pretty crazy stuff, wacky stuff. Daughters, Hell Songs. Yeah, boo. That guy stinks. Genghis Tron's Dead Mountain Mouth. I mean, that's really even more of a grind record, but I kind of felt like it.
Cyber grind.
Yeah, it was close enough.
Yeah.
We've got Deathcore.
Ugh. Oh, this is when it all
It's
really
like
started to take
of
off,
Deathcore.
right?
Yeah. Like, I wish that I didn't know who the Faceless was, but I was in a death metal influenced metalcore band at the time. Of course I knew who they were.
Yeah. The Faceless were also like kind of tech deathy too.
Yeah.
I think that's why our bandmates liked them, was more the tech death element of it. But yeah.
Bring Me the Horizon, put out Count Your Blessings. There's some All Shall Perish, some As Blood Runs Black.
Your typo here. The album's called Allegiance, but you have a W in there, so it's Allegiance.
Allegiance. We've got other varieties of metalcore. Killswitch Engage, As Daylight Dies, Lamb of God, Sacrament.
Yeah.
Mainstream metalcore at this point.
Yeah.
Trivium's The Crusade, almost a thrash metal record.
Mm-hmm.
Protest the Hero. In Flames even kind of does a metalcore record this year.
That All That Remains record, I think, was pretty big too.
Yeah.
They became
Guitar
a big
Hero band?
Is that where they got their fame from?
I think they might have been.
I've heard that the lead singer sucks as a person. And he's a tiny, tiny man. He's a very short guy.
We've got a lot of different kinds of post-hardcore, many of them Christian, such as Me Without You.
Yeah.
Who put out Brother Sister, and Under Oath, who put out Define the Great Line. We've got Alexis on Fire's Crisis, a record that I think actually holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I do think it does too.
We've got kind of your smart, your proggy-leaning stuff, like Deer Hunter, doing Act 1, The Lake South, The River North.
Coheed and Cambria really ruined a lot of things.
Yeah.
Naming records is one of them.
Pure Before the March of Flames, The Always Open Mouth, that's a fairly kind of experimental-ish post-hardcore for like a sassy swoop hair band.
Mm-hmm.
Blood Brothers did Young Machetes. I mean, that's, pinnacle of sass, but pretty well-regarded band. Stuff by Seosin, Escape at the Fate, Thursday.
Ronnie Radke's Escape the Fate, right?
Yeah, probably. I don't remember. You're going to say ew a lot. There's a lot of bad people who put out records this year.
Yeah.
It's peak mall emo time. I mean, My Chemical Romance did Black Parade. Huge record.
That piano chord, that one note on the piano that just like triggers every millennial. Positive or negatively. Oh, here comes Black Parade.
Brand new, ew.
Ew.
Put out Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me.
They're trying to say, you take him. Well, I don't want him. Even the devil doesn't want the brand new guy. And God's like, well, clearly I can't take him. He's got to be one of yours.
Taking Back Sunday, put out Louder Now.
Yeah. That's a band who is a shell of their former selves.
They weren't good to begin with.
Right.
There's no retroactive reappraisal for that band for me. I hear it. I hated it then. I hear it now, and I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah, it was never that good. I never liked it. They maybe have a song or two, and that's about it.
I don't think they even have a song or two.
I think "Bring You Down" is a decent song, if that's actually the name of the song. But
Break You Down So Badly?
Bring You, Break You, whatever. It's the same.
Right.
They don't mean anything.
In the worst way. Garage rock revival, post-punk revival. This one throws me in 2006. Arctic Monkeys put out Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I Am Not.
Does that apply to the genre of the Arctic Monkeys, too?
They put that record out in 2006. The same year the Killers put out Sam's Town, their second record.
Is that Arctic Monkeys the one with Adam Sandler on the cover?
This guy smoking a cigarette? Yeah.
He just looks
Is it
like
actually Adam Sandler?
It's not actually Adam Sandler. He just looks like him. He's covering his mouth, so the first time I ever saw it, I was like, is that Adam Sandler? I was like, no, it's not him. But
I mean, it looks like the Sandman. Sure.
It does look like him. Hey, Arctic Monkeys, I like it. I like it. How we doby. Such a silly man. But all around, like
in my movie?
all around, he seems like a great guy, though. That's what's funny. He does let his bad friends still come and be in his movies, but I think he's just like, nah, he's my friend, though.
I can't abandon my friends. What kind of guy would I be?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like known for being like a huge tipper and just like super approachable and nice to like people in the service industry. And yeah,
Apparently-
nobody dislikes Adam Sandler as a person.
Yeah. You may not like his movies, but
Yeah. Jay Rietard.
JR word.
Yeah. Put out Blood Visions. He's dead. Can't take it back. Can't change
That's
it.
the one where he's covered in blood on the cover, right?
Yeah.
Naked.
The Thermals. Ew.
Oh, my God.
We did that record.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We talked about the problems, though. So
Yeah.
that was worth it.
He's trying to make another record.
And I can't tell if he's doing it without the rest of them. Because
I think he's doing it without the rest of them. He's
I think
using
he
their
is.
picture.
Yeah, but I think they're not in the band anymore. I think they're out, and he's just like, we're doing a new Thermals record. But like he's directing you to the Hutch Harris Bandcamp,
Yeah.
to where you can purchase things to help fund it. Like you could purchase lyrics and photos and stuff like that. Like, to be fair, I don't hate that way to fund a record, though. You know, if you're like, I don't have money to produce a record, how can I get money? How about I sell some things for you fans?
She Wants Revenge did that self-titled record.
Is that the one with the big single on it?
Yeah.
What was the song?
It's the one with that album cover. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, the girl with the knife and the phone.
No, she's like standing there in her underwear, like pulling her collar of her.
I called her on the phone and she... Wait, that's Say Anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
For some reason, I get that period of Say Anything and She Wants Revenge mixed up. What is the big She Wants Revenge song? What's the song, though?
Tear You Apart.
I don't know that by name. I'm going to have to... Is it Tear You Apart? 82 million? Probably.
Yeah.
This is not the song I thought it was.
Oh, really? Weird.
I don't think I know what song I'm thinking of. Anyway, continue.
We've got your alternative rock punk.
Yeah.
Your Guitar Hero punk.
Yeah.
Raise a Raisin in the Sun Against the Machine. Rise Against the Suffer and the Witness. That is some Bush era punk rock.
Rock Against Bush.
AFI's December Underground. Plus 44.
You could put that AFI in the Molly mode too, I guess.
Yeah. There's some ska. It's the ska that's still around. and like a couple of new bands, basically. Like the next wave that was basically just Jeff Rosenstock.
Yeah. I hate that Jeff Rosenstock is his own wave of ska.
Jeff Rosenstock saved ska, arguably.
But at what cost?
But Bomb the Music Industry put out Goodbye Cool World. The Arrogant Sons of Bitches put out 3 Cheers for Disappointment. And Streetlight Manifesto did their Keysby Nights re-recording.
I like that Arrogant Sons of Bitches record, but Streetlight Manifesto was the other one where I was just like, oh my God, I do not care for this shit at all. everybody retroactively claimed Catch-22 were the greatest ska band of the 90s, and it was like, nobody cared about it when it happened. It was...
They were the Tony Victory needs a ska band.
Yeah, they were not a big deal in the 90s. Maybe in like hardcore circles, those were the people who were listening to them, because they weren't everybody else's ska. So, I don't know. Somehow everyone heard that Catch-22 record, Keys Be Nights. That record is the Streetlight Manifesto version is funny because it was a case of wasn't it just like a battle of the existing Catch-22 and Streetlight Manifesto, which was like several former Catch-22 members, and they just wanted to own their own record because Tony Victory was not letting them have it.
Yeah, there's some screamo stuff. It's pretty heavy on like the post rock thing. Like Envy did Insomniac Doze, and Suila Loon did Quiet Pull the Strings. I Would Set Myself on Fire for You. Believes in Patterns. That one's kind of post rocky too. So me and him call it us record. There's probably plenty more screamo records. I kind of capped it there, but do we consider Have Heart amazing core?
I think they're considered amazing core, yeah. But they're also kind of considered like that new wave of youth crew too.
Yeah, they put out Things We Carry. It's a pretty big deal. Band in general
I think the band more so than that specific album. It's the next record, right? That's the bigger one.
Yeah,
the kid with his mouth open on the cover.
But that's a pretty decent summary of what's going on in 2006. But honestly, there's a lot more.
Yeah, it was a big year. Music distribution got a lot easier on the internet in around 2006. MySpace was huge.
And we're still calling stuff punk.
It's true. We were.
In this time period. Like, stuff is actually getting those genre tags.
This is also the rise of, like, Warped Tour as a giant, like, staple. Hot Topic as, like, a main outlet for a lot of things. It's a rough period because it is, like, leading into a very, very terrible period coming up. But at the time, it was kind of like peak for all of this stuff. People still were listening to the radio, you know, distributing your band's stuff online was easier at this point. Yeah. Weird. It was an interesting boom period for...
Yeah, kids were still watching music videos on TV.
Yeah. It all moved to MTV too, but it was still, like, we still had a place to watch videos. Yeah. Headbangers Ball was back. Fuse was a thing by now, you know? So yeah, big period for that stuff.
But what did you almost pick? We went through all these genres, but, you know, we're limited to a very small pool.
Yeah, so with these gimmick episodes that we've been doing, we started this last year where we just are giving a year to each other. Like, here's your year. Now find something from that year that fits in our gimmick. I think we started it with our Halloween stuff last year. I don't think we started it with the ska, but we thought about starting it. Or did... No, I don't think we did it with ska. I think we started with Halloween Spectacular.
We didn't do it with ska. But we decided after going through Skagus last year, we were like, you know, maybe we should just pick the year. And so we gave that a try on the Halloween.
And we liked it because we wound up picking things we weren't going to pick otherwise. Yeah. Like we did a Meteors record, you know. So I like the limitation. Like it's just like, here's your year, like the show, but we're trying to do something specific. So find something from that year, which means we're going to tap into things that are maybe not as well known, which is what this one wound up being. And my almost picks were this. So one of the first ones I almost picked was Greenland Whalefishers and their album Down and Out. And I was like, I don't know who this is. What does it sound like? And they are a Norwegian Celtic punk band. And when I listened to it, they sounded way too much like a Pogues Flogging Molly knockoff that I was just like, I don't know that we're going to have anything to really say about this record. So that's ultimately why I passed on that one. Nobody knows who Greenland Whalefishers are. No one knows who I actually chose either, but we'll see. Another choice, the Mahones. I'm not sure what they do with the E there, but they released Take No Prisoners. This is an older Celtic punk band. They've been around for a really long time. They have a ton of records in their catalog. This was the other one that I was like the closest on choosing because I was like, that's a band. That's one we've heard of. They're kind of a big deal in Celtic punk. As big of a deal as you can be in Celtic punk and you're not one of the top 3 bands. But ultimately I passed on it because I was like, I think there are other records in their catalog that are probably more important and more well regarded. Plus, we might need to save them for a future episode where we need something to talk about. We know who the Mahonies are. So I was like, okay, I'm going to hold off on the Mahonies, but they were the next closest choice. And I was considering Professional by the band Scotch Greens. I knew the name of this band because they appeared on one of the Warped Tour compilations. I think it might be the 2006 Warped Tour compilation, now that I think about it. And I remember hearing it on that comp and thinking at the time, I was like, and there's another one. I was already into Flogging Molly, and I just was like, I don't think I need another one of these. And so I didn't ever dig into them myself. But then I saw them on the list, and I was like, hey, I know that band name. Why are they dead last on the list of Celtic punk records? I think it's because no one can find that album on the internet. There's like nowhere to stream it. It's on nothing. I think you could piece it together on YouTube. Like, people made playlists of all the songs. And I was like, this is going to be just too complicated. And if you had problems with it with the record we are talking about on Tidal, you were definitely going to have a problem with Scotch Greens. And so I wasn't about to like make a playlist for you to force you to listen to it either. I was just like, if I can't listen to this, then I'm not going to. So that's the main one. Otherwise, they might have had a chance of getting picked because I knew who they were. But I think the reason why it was dead last on popularity is because no one can listen to it. So
of those obscure names, which obscure band did you pick?
I went with The Hungry Mile by The Go Set. No one knows who that is. So, some stats on the band. They formed in 2002 in Melbourne, Australia. So a good chunk of what I was considering was out of the US Celtic punk, but not from Ireland Celtic punk. Weirdly, I don't think there are a lot of from Ireland Celtic punk bands. The Pogues are like the one.
Yeah, but they're not even from Ireland as a band, right?
Right. London was where they formed. Yeah. It's Irish people. And like Flogging Molly, like Dave King is from Ireland, but like the rest of the band I think is from the US. There might be some other Europeans in there, but they're not from Ireland as a band. Yeah. So yeah, the Ghost Set are from Melbourne, Australia. This is their second album. It was released on Carvin Records. And the personnel on this record is Johnny McHaggis on bagpipes and tin whistle. And when I read that, I was like, oh dear God, what are we doing? We have Mark Moran on bass, Paul Monk on the bodhran, Andrew Baxter Smith on the mandolin and the guitar, Ben Cuthbert on drums, and Justin Keenan on guitar and vocals. We do have some additional musicians. We have Mark Wallace on piano accordion. So that means there's an accordion on here that's just the foldy kind with no keys, and the one with the keys. And Indiana Event, who plays violin and flute on the record. And the record was produced by Rob Younger and Justin Keenan and Ben Cuthbert.
So why did you pick this one?
It was different. I sampled all of my almost picks, except for Scotch Greens. I couldn't get enough to sample that one. So I sampled the Whale Fishers from Greenland. Greenland Whale Fishers. I sampled the Mahonies. And I was just like, well, this band's not doing the exact same thing that those other bands are doing. And that was kind of my main reason for doing it. I did happen to look at like what was popular on YouTube from the band, and this record had their like most popular song on YouTube. And I was like, this might be the record to do for this band. Ultimately, I think it's not their most popular record, but it's one of those weird ones where it's like, it's not their most popular album, but it has one of their most popular songs on it. So that's kind of why I went with this one. I was like, there's not going to be another reason to choose a Go Set record in the future. Might as well. It's slightly different. It's not just doing a Pogues clone thing. And I'm kind of curious to see what an Australian Celtic punk band is like. So that was my main reason for going into it. No experience with this band whatsoever. I assume, Dylan, you same, no experience. Had you ever even heard of them before?
I had never heard of them before.
No, I didn't either.
Nothing.
Yeah, so it was just like this is a fresh one. You know, last week when we did the Sick of It All record, your reasoning behind choosing it was because you wanted to choose a record you'd never listened to before. And I kind of continued that spirit, even a step further, by choosing a band I'd never even heard of before. So, yeah, that is ultimately why I went.
Yeah, I never listened to that Sick of It All record, but like, I had some thoughts and feelings on Sick of It All as a band. This, right. I'm like, who?
Yeah, who? That's the perfect who? That should be the response whenever we post this online. People are like, who? Who? We're going to accidentally get a bunch of Australian listeners, too, this week. So this is one of those records where, like, we did that Blindside record, and we had a bunch of listens in Sweden. So it's always funny when we do a record from another country. We get people from the country listening to it.
So all the guys from Blindside listened to that episode?
That's what I always joke. You know, it's the members of the band vanity searching themselves and be like, hey, somebody covered us. And we're like,
I mean, when we talked about we talked about an MXPX record, and we get like, a download from Bremerton or or wherever it was like, oh, Mike listened.
That's the joke. I don't think Mike lives in Bremerton anymore, but I do think Yuri does. So it's probably Yuri.
That's okay. That's possible.
I think Mike is in Texas now, because that's why he did that like country band. But yeah. So nothing. What? All right. So here's where we talk about the Celtic punk records. What is going on in 2006 in Celtic punk besides the 3 records I already mentioned?
Well, there's an American Love record. Not really Celtic punk, I guess, but I think it's got that tag on there.
Yeah.
There's Flogging Molly, Whiskey on a Sunday. If we hadn't just done Flogging Molly, like, that would be, you know, honestly the one to do.
That was a weird record too, right? Because wasn't it like it's like half DVD. It was like a documentary. And I don't know if it's like a true studio record. I think it's like a weird collection too. But like never released collection of stuff.
There's a bunch of live stuff on there.
Yeah. So that one I was like, it's not even a record to choose.
That's the one, it's like one new song and then like a bunch of acoustic and a bunch of live takes.
Yeah. So that's the biggest Celtic punk band, but it's like not a real studio album.
There's an Oi Polloi record. Musically, probably not actually Celtic punk, but probably just Oi. But that is the most Celtic name of an album I've ever seen. I can't say it. R. Seol, R. Canaan, R. Amok. Apologies.
Yeah. Do not know Gaelic at all.
A bunch of stuff I don't know. Barley Juice.
Yeah.
Emerald.
Yeah.
The Bleeding Irish. Mm-hmm. The Larkin Brigade.
These are the kind of bands that make all of their money playing bar shows in March. That's who these bands are. Barley Juice, Emerald, Breaking Irish, Larkin Brigade. I did dig a little deeper just to see if there was anything else out and like EPs or anything like that. And I don't think there was really anything different or notable, except there's like a Black 47 compilation that was released that year. And they're that New York Celtic punk band that kind of predates everyone because they started like in the 80s. So they were like the U.S. Pogues, kind of. But that's it. It's Celtic punk, despite being in a boom period, thanks to the popularity of Dropkick Murphys and Flogging Molly at this time, there's not that many copycats yet.
Well, they're small. It's just, yeah.
They're just, not recognized, not well known.
That's the thing is, Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys, like, they really did create a big scene of that stuff, but so little of it really stood the test of time and became notable after the fact. Like, they probably did well then. I mean, Celtic music generally does well, and, like, Celtic rock is a thing that you can do. Mm-hmm. But it's, you go play bars. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you play Irish pubs. Like, that's kind of what you do. I was just seeing if there's anything else I missed. Like, there's a Mr. Irish Bastard did an EP that year. That's one I recognize. And then, there was, like, a single version of I'm Shipping Up to Boston that came out that year, too. But that's it.
But along similar lines, in 2006, we have a lot of folk punk. We have Defiance, Ohio, The Great Depression, Mischief Brews, Songs from Under the Sink, Ghost Mice, ew. Man. We weren't done. Yeah. HHA, Flaspar, Golden Boots Split. Tim Barry did Ravana Junction. There's a Paul Baraboo record. There's an O Pioneers, Black Mambas. There's some gypsy punk, for lack of a better word. Unfortunately, that's just what that genre gets called.
Yeah, that word appears on this record too.
By a band called Culture Shock. We Came to Take Your Jobs Away. I thought it was pretty funny.
That's a funny name. Yeah, the only other like non like punk stuff that's Celtic that I found, there was a Gaelic Storm record. There's a Lorena McKennitt record, and there was a Celtic Woman Christmas album. That's kind of it when it comes to Celtic music. Honestly, it feels like a down year for Celtic music in general. I feel like there are bigger years on both sides of it, but yeah.
He said tonight I drink with you, my friends. It's a moment in time and it won't happen again. Years of these wages, pressed against the wall. Tomorrow we are setting sail to a foreign shore. Davey came out with his family in the 80s. They were from a shamrock shore. You start here, that's full of nothing. Two strong hands, they will make the work end again. Working in the mill, there's a new start here. He left the warring countries for a taste of freedom and a future. Smile on his face, two strong hands. He said these are the days. Smile on his face, it's as good as it gets. And he said these are the days. David's a patriot and proud of his country.
But what's the story?
Morning Glory. Yes, the Ghost Set. Here's the story. So they formed in 2003 in Geelong, Victoria, which is also the same province, state. I'm not sure what they call them in Australia, but it is like 50 miles south of Melbourne. They formed following the breakup of Justin Keenan's previous band, the garage rock group Eddie Would Go. They were like a garage punk kind of band. They lasted for like 6 years. They put out like 3 LPs. Justin Keenan's like, we weren't very good, but it taught me how to be in a band. So that's kind of neat. And he initially formed the Ghost Set with bassist Mark Morin. So Justin Keenan grew up with leftist parents and essentially grew up listening to 70s protest music, but he also got into the Pogues and the Clash, which left a very lasting imprint on him. And they released a mini album called Welcome to the New Dimension on Carvin in 2003. They did their debut album, Sing a Song of a Revolution, in 2004 on I'm Laughing Outlaw Records. Maybe that's 2 labels, I'm not sure. But yeah, Carbon Records was the record label run by Justin Keenan that started to release Eddie Would Go albums and become the outlet for the Ghost Set. There are a few other artists on Carvin prior to this record, but nothing most of us would know. I'll name them in case we have some Australian listeners, and these are like cool bands in Australia. So there's the alt-rock band Volition, there's a group called Tank, there's an indie pop band called Moondriven, and there's a live folk acoustic album from someone named Karis, who was in another band, which was also Celtic rockish, I think. I don't think they were punk, but they didn't put anything out in 2006 on Carbon, though. That wasn't this record. So that's why there's no Also Ran for the label, because there's nothing else on the label. So this is the first Go Set record with their new drummer, Ben Cuthbert, who replaced the previous drummer, Al Barber. And they went into studio to record at Birdland Studios with producer Rob Younger. Rob Younger should be well known as the founding member and lead singer of the first Australian punk band, Radio Birdman. So we have some like punk cred tied to this record. Younger began producing albums in the 80s, and he previously produced albums from the bands The Celibate Rifles, Died Pretty, and The Hard-Ons. I don't think it's that Hard-Ons. I think there's a lot of bands called The Hard-Ons. But he also didn't really have any other credits this year. And the album was recorded by Lindsay Gravina and Rob Long. Lindsay Gravina had actually recorded their first album, the first Go Sets album, so they brought her back to work on this one. And she'd also previously recorded The Living End with their self-titled record, as well as Roland S. Howard's teenage snuff film. So Lindsay Gravina actually kind of has more cred as a producer at this point than Rob Younger does. She's just an engineer on this album, but she already had producing credits. Rob Younger was the bigger name because of the Radio Birdman stuff, but yeah, she was the more like producer-wise experienced one. And then yeah, Rob Long, he doesn't really do much before this, and then he does a lot of stuff with Lindsay Gravina. And this was released on the Japanese label Unattractive Records as well. Didn't see anything else they put out. And I was trying to find anything kind of like to grab onto. The biggest like credit that the other members of the band have had, Paul Monk wound up playing guitar, mandolin, and sang on the Real McKenzie's 2005 album 10,000 Shots. And this is the only Go Set record that Justin Keenan would produce. But he did produce some of the Eddie Would Go records, so I don't know if he just didn't care for being a producer or not. But so that is it. That is the Go Set story for the most part. There's a little aftermath, but not much that we'll get to. So, what'd you think of this record?
It's a record. It didn't make a huge impression on me, which is more of a credit to it than it normally would be. Because it really didn't actually leave a bad impression on me.
I see. That's where you're going. Because
Celtic punk, it's a lot like psychobilly. There's good stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's a small genre. And it is very easy for bands to just lean into the stereotypes, the gimmick. I don't think this one does that. I don't think it leans into its gimmickiness. I think everything works pretty well. I think the basic core punk sound of the band is pretty solid, if not particularly remarkable. And I think that the Irish Celtic folk instrumentation integrates well with it. It really does work pretty well. Like, nothing stands out to me as like, boy, I'm tired of that tin whistle. I think it all worked pretty well. I think it fit. It's a pretty well balanced record in those sounds that it's working with. It just doesn't, has really nothing stellar about it. I don't think there's anything, maybe a couple of songs that kind of stood out to me, but very little.
Yeah, so one of the things that made me choose this album over some of those other records is that it seemed like they were trying to do something a little bit different. Like, I listened to this record, and it didn't make me think, like, oh, they're just doing straight Pogues, straight Flogging Molly, or, oftentimes, straight Dropkick Murphys. There's not as much, like, straight-up Dropkick Murphys. Weirdly, I think Dropkick Murphys just inspired a bunch of street punk bands, more so than more Celtic punk bands, which I find kind of funny. Because there's way more street punk that sounds like Dropkick Murphys than there are Celtic punk bands that sound like them. So, that's kind of funny. So what I appreciated is that it kind of came from, like, I don't know, sonically I listen to this and I'm like, this kind of has more in common with, like, the pop punk stuff that's happening in the US at this time period. most of the music-wise, just throwing in a bunch of Celtic traditional instruments. This record doesn't do the thing where they're like, we got to play every instrument we have, the way that like the Pogues and the Flogging Molly do, where it's like, this song has tin whistle, bagpipes, fiddle, violin, flute, and a bodhran on it. They kind of like parse the instruments out and kind of use them on different songs. You'll get a combo. The instrument I think that combines with the most instruments is probably the bagpipe and the tin whistle. I feel like those get used the most on the album because those are members of the band. There's a bagpipe player who's in the band and a tin whistle player who's in the band. So it's kind of like if you have a permanent member of the band who plays those instruments, you have to kind of use them. I think the bodhran is all over this record. That's that little like hand drum thing with like the little like Q-tip drumstick that you held. Yeah. But it didn't feel like I said, it didn't feel like a band who was just being like, Flogging Molly's huge right now. Let's do what they do. Maybe that was the inspiration for the band, but maybe not. I know the members of the band, like 2 of the members have very strong Irish connections. I want to say like some are like direct connections to Ireland. Like they have like, it's like a parent or a grandparent is like from Ireland. So it kind of gives them...
No one is from Australia.
Well, yes. Because we got a mornin in the band. Some of the last names are all, actually, if I'm being completely honest, are very... Mornin is a very Irish. Keenan is a very Irish name. So yeah, I think they're the 2 with like the most strong Irish connection, like actual family trees that they could trace back. And I think the others are close to that too. I do think they're part of the motivation for the band was that they grew up with some of this stuff and they were just like, we could do that. We could incorporate elements of that into our music. Because I think they grew up listening to a lot of traditional Celtic music too. So that played a factor into it. But again, they're not doing full Flogging Molly, full Pogues knockoff stuff. It's just more of like, we're a punk band who likes the Clash and also likes the Pogues. So that kind of makes it a little bit different. And I don't know if I said my actual feelings on the record. I really did not mind this album. I'm not going to say I loved it, but I kind of liked it. Like, I was definitely positive on it when I was listening to it. And I think the decision to be a little different is what I liked about it. And it's what drew me to it initially. Because, yeah, that Greenland Whalers might have been a more popular record. I don't know if it is or not. But it was so Flogging Molly that I was like, it's not going to be anything different. So we had something different to actually kind of choose from here. And that's why I went with it. And I wound up kind of liking it. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed myself. I listened to it 3 times this week, and I didn't mind having to listen to it that many times. So, yeah, that's the main kind of like takeaway for me.
Yeah, as much as I was dreading putting it on, I mean, it's a little long.
40-minute album, I believe.
It feels longer.
It's because it's a lot of songs.
Yeah.
I can get the actual length.
So, like, I was feeling the length of the record by the end of it, but I wasn't like I said, when I put it on, it didn't give me a bad impression. It didn't go so far as to be hokey and pointless. I do think there's some, solid songwriting on here. The stuff that I think works the best is probably the stuff that's the least Celtic punk sounding. I mean, they definitely do the da 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 kind of Celtic rhythm.
Yeah.
A lot, which mileage varies, I guess. But so there's stuff like All the Truth and Lies that doesn't really sound like that. Union Man like kind of leans a little into that sort of Irish rhythm, but it's not as over the top with it. So I feel like that stuff appealed to me the most, the more power poppy kind of sounding songs. And there's a little bit of kind of a street punk element on some of these songs.
Walk the hungry mile in the darkness and the rain. Sweet salvations, bare knuckle crawling, getting drunk as fuck on whiskey. The slavery to hell, and we are the underclass.
when I was listening to this record. Did you get any of that?
A what?
The Alarm? Because you know how The Alarm utilized a lot of like folk elements in their music too?
Yeah.
More specifically like British folk music, but there's a Celtic feel to some of those Alarm songs. And it kind of made me think like, oh, this is kind of what The Alarm would have been if they formed in, you know, the 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's full on like big country, big music.
Yeah, it's not big music.
I mean, it doesn't have the guitars of big music. It doesn't do the U2 guitars.
No.
At all. I could see that.
I feel like the Irish elements are like more tasteful on this record than other records could have been. I mean, I put the record on and the first track is Jig of Slurs, which is like this instrumental song which has the tin whistle and the bagpipe, and I'm assuming the bodhrán's all over that one too. It's just like not a full song, just an intro track, but I was like, uh-oh, this might be too Irish, meaning, oh, it's going to sound the same. But then like Bordeaux is not. It's a little more straightforward. It's not quite as full of that stuff. Yeah, like I looked at the album cover to this record, and at first I was like, this came out 2 years after Flogging Molly's Within a Mile of Home. And I was like, oh, you're doing the Within a Mile Home album cover. Because it's, the Within a Mile Home is like someone walking with their back to the camera, holding like a suitcase and wearing old-timey clothes. And this record is very much, the album cover is the members of the band. It looks like, I don't know if it's actually them, walking away, wearing, like, you get their backs, they're wearing some kind of old-timey clothes too.
We've got some suspenders and flat caps, it looks like.
Yeah. And so I was like, this could be very Flogging Molly-ish. And besides the cover, it's not. Like, I was like, oh, good, it's not actually like that. Because they even have Mile in the album title. They definitely were trying to catch the Flogging Molly fan with this record. Because you see that cover, you know exactly what it sounds like. Well, you have an idea of what it sounds like.
You think you know exactly what it sounds like. I don't think it actually sounds exactly like it looks.
Right.
I appreciate it.
I see it and I go, it's Celtic or Oi. It's one of those two things. Because that's who wears the flat brim scally caps. Yeah, I was like, oh. But they do have that big-ass 2000s logo over top of it, though.
Oh, yeah. The logo is, we got the outline of stars. We've got
the
impact font. We've got just this grungy color filter.
Yeah, that
sepia tone.
That album font, it's like, oh, the Movie Life, right? That's who's coming. The Movie Life's coming. You know, that kind of band font with stars, because Movie Life had stars on their cover, too. Yeah. I was just like, this is a weird little mix of things here. And sonically, that is kind of what they are. It is like this weird little mix of like slick pop, rock punk, whatever you want to call that, alt rock punk, with some Irish stuff thrown in. Songs that stand out to me, I like Davey. I thought Davey was pretty good. I noticed the drums on this record have this like, specifically the snare on this record, sounds like they're slapping the drums. I don't know if it's like a particular way of hitting them, but it sounds more like flappy, like slappy flappy kind of drums than sharp snare sounds. Maybe you're getting more stick on the drum, you know, the drum head than just the tip, but
just the tip.
Yes. Union Man, that's like their biggest song, I think, from this record. At least on YouTube, it's their like most listened to song. It was probably the single for the record. Power of Youth, I thought, was a pretty decent song as well. Oh, I thought Scarlet Snow was like actually a really well constructed song, because that's the one that starts with like as an acoustic song, and you think it's going to be acoustic all the way through, but then the full band comes in. It felt like the most dynamic and like the most moving parts to that song, so I kind of really appreciated that one. And it's a song about war, like just going to war. Scarlet Snow, literally blood on the snow from the war. And The Longest Holiday, that's another one that I really enjoyed. That one was probably the least Irish and the most personal, because it was like a song about like going on a European vacation with his partner. It's like a failing relationship, so the trip was to save the relationship, and then they get there and it doesn't save the relationship, and he winds up leaving her on, I don't know if it's the side of the road, but just like leaving her on their vacation. And I was like, oh, this happened. Either it happened to him directly or like one of his friends, and he decided to write a whole song about it. But it was so like, this relationship isn't worth saving. I'm leaving your ass here. It's got very Don Draper leaving her at the Hojos and the and it's like the least Celtic song on the record too.
Yeah, All the Truth and Lies, Union Man, Power of Youth, Longest Holiday. Those are the ones that stand out the most to me. The most enjoyable songs.
Yeah. Lyrically, besides that one song about like a bad relationship, it's all very Poguesy, Flogging Molly-y, very stories about being Irish is really what a lot of the songs are, which is, they love songs about being Irish. It's like those people who are like, who are
walking, on ships.
Yeah, a lot of songs about ships on this record. I think, Davey's about like an actual Irish immigrant coming to Australia, because it's specifically like, it was the 80s. And it's like, well, I'm not used to like a Celtic punk band singing about the 80s. That's typically not what you, unless it's about the Troubles, but
unless he's talking about the 1880s.
Yeah, it was like the most like modern context of like, it's a story about an Irish immigrant, from all the way back in 1983. It's like, huh? I mean, yeah, you can immigrate from another country from at any point in history, but like, it's not as romantic if they came in the 80s. Like, MTV was already a thing. Like, because the song even talks about how it's like, and then he still tells stories about the old country. And it's like, Ireland in the 70s is what he's talking about? Like, it's not, I mean, yeah, the Troubles were a thing. That was a thing. But they treat it like he's like, he had to leave because of the famine, but it's not. It's because of it. Things were kind of rough. That's why they left. Like, it's a weird way to write a song. That one also feels personal because it's just like, why would you choose the 1980s as your point of reference? But Tale of a Convict, that one is about, basically about, I think it's about being shanghaied on a boat. And then being treated as a slave on the boat. It's the example that the Irish people love to say when they say the Irish were slaves too, whenever they're talking about, when they're trying to be like, we're oppressed too. It's like, yeah, your oppression was a little bit different.
It's forced labor. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. It felt like the excuse is the song that, I don't know. It's like, do you need to write a song about that? I don't know. Because it specifically mentions this is the black's life in the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's like, the Irish aren't supposed to be treated like the black people. It's like, that's kind of the tone of it.
That's, ugh.
And which I'm like, what? I wonder if that song is written differently if they do it today. But, because it definitely was like, we were oppressed too. It's like, yeah, it's not a race to see who is the most oppressed.
Yeah. That one did stand out. I remember that line standing out. I was like, oh, what was that about?
This is a black's life. What? What does that mean? Do you think that it should be their life? Ugh. Salamanca, I was like, okay, this is a song about, because it says gypsy like 100 times in that song. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of like talking about the Irish immigrants when they come, to another country and how they kind of create their own little communities. And, like the show The Riches was based on like the American version of the quote gypsy, which was like Irish people just living transient lives.
Were they Irish in The Riches?
Yeah, they were all Irish descended. There were like actual Irish characters in the family too. But they were, that's what they were. Travelers, is that what they called them in that show?
Irish travelers, yeah.
Yeah. That's what they were centered around.
Yeah.
And I thought, is that what this is about? And then it talked about how they were playing hacky sacks and they had dreadlocks. And I'm like, this is a song about the Portland of Australia. Salamanca is a town in, I think it's like not even a full town. I think it's just a part of Melbourne. It's the hipster part of Melbourne. And I'm like, why are you singing about gypsies so much in this modern setting of...
Salamanca Place. Salamanca Place is a precinct of Hobart in Tasmania.
Hobart. That's what it was. It's Hobart Town. That's what they kept saying in there. But
so it's Tasmanian.
Yeah. But it's like, it sounds like it's just a hipster Sid town in Tasmania. Because I was like, hacky sacks and dreadlocks. I was like, it sounds like you're talking about Asheville. Like, what is... And so I was like, I don't think you need to keep throwing around gypsy in this song.
Hippies love that word.
They do. Hippies do. the bohemian. That's what he's talking about in that song. It's like,
Going to Belshare.
This is weird. It's a weird, like, we're taking all like the Irish, Celtic rock lyrical content and then putting it in like 2006 setting. And so it's like, it kind of makes the tone weird on some tracks. It's just like, what are you talking about here? There's a couple different songs about just being working class. All the Truth and Lies. Oh, that song. Did that song have a Harvey Danger feel to it to you on the chorus?
Yeah, I can hear that.
It was like this weird, like, oh, that's funny. That sounds like that belongs on Where All the Merrymakers Gone. Union Man is about working class. The Power of Youth is kind of a song about, like, when we were young, we were pushing for change and revolution, and we wanted to, make a difference. But now we're all old and tired, and nothing changed, and the efforts were wasted, basically. Which I thought was an interesting take on that concept. I think Bombs Falling is about war, but also specifically, it has like a clip from someone talking about like nuclear disarmament, and I think that's what the song is actually about. Yeah, I don't know. Lyrically, I was just kind of like, this record's kind of all over the place lyrically. Some stuff that I'm like, probably could have written something better than that, and then a lot of the similar kind of themes you get in a lot of songs like this, like Hard Hands, is that the name of that song? The Hardness of His Hand. It's about just somebody whose hands were hard from years of hard work. And a lot of songs about work, which, good. I like songs about, class solidarity and workers' rights, and which Union Man is kind of a workers' rights song, because it's a song about them begging for representation by the, hey, Union Man, we need more pay, we need less hours, that kind of stuff. So I guess that's the Clash stuff that they're really inspired by. Oh, they were super duper inspired by early Midnight Oil as well. Like the pre-Beds Are Burning Midnight Oil.
I don't really hear it, but
I think it's lyrically what they're inspired by. Not really any mention of the Aboriginal people of Australia, which Midnight Oil always sang about that. That was like their favorite subject. Which is, what's his name? That's what his job was, wasn't it? Like, he got some political position, and I think it was like, he ran on the, like, we gotta treat the native people here way better than we have. Anything that just like outright doesn't work for you?
Not really, not musically. I mean, yeah, there's a couple of lyrics that jump out that are like not great, but I mean, I guess you could broadly say that the whole record doesn't really work for me because, like I said, it didn't really make much of an impression. But there's nothing here that I just outright dislike.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only songs that I feel like didn't work for me...
I mean, like, we could have just skipped the intro, probably.
Yeah, I would have jumped over that. I don't know that we needed the full instrumental song either, Learning Slowly. That acoustic song with the flute. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't offensive, but it was just like, do we need this here? It's already too long a record. Scott's Whoa Hey, that was the one that I was like, do we need this one? I mean,
one of the more expendable songs.
Because I think it's just traditional. Interestingly, they're called Celtic Punk, and they do specifically, like, cite Ireland, but that's called Scots Wha Hey. They toured with, like, the Real McKenzies, and they did say in some interview, they were like, we have a lot of Scotch-Irish. So they're kind of like, I mean, that's what Celtic is. Celtic is supposed to include Scottish music as well, but it kind of gets siloed into its own thing, because you think of, like, bagpipes as when you think of Scottish music, you think bagpipes. If you think Irish music, you might think more instruments than just bagpipes. They have bagpipes, but it's, yeah. Oh, I did read one interview where they were like, are you familiar with the band The Real McKenzies? And he was like, very familiar. We've played hundreds of shows with them. Like, I imagine every time they came to Australia, they played with The Real McKenzies. It was just funny because it was just like, this interview knows nothing about the band, because it was asking a lot of those kind of questions.
No research whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely one of just like, these are the same questions I ask everyone.
Oh, I got a question that's going to stump them. You guys ever listen to the Pogues?
It definitely read like an email interview too. Like they emailed them a bunch of questions and then they answered them. Because there were no follow-ups to any answers, which is just like, well, that's not a good interview. You can only do those kind of like email interviews if it's like, you have a gimmick where it's like, we ask 5 questions, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a bad interview. Like, you should maybe if you can't do like a recorded interview or anything like that, maybe you just do some follow-up emails with more questions. But I don't know. I don't think it was Punk Planet, but it felt like a website like Punk Planet. So everything about this band was on the Australian version of the Wayback Machine too, which I found funny. I was like, oh, there's a whole other version of this kind of website. All right, let's do the aftermath and wrap it up. So the Go Set, still a band today. They would continue to release music. They released A Journey for a Nation in 2007 on Carven. In 2008, they released Rising and their self-titled album in 2012 on Bad Dog Records. In 2015, they released Rolling Sound on ABC Music, which was a major label in Australia. ABC Music was the Australian imprint of Universal Records. So this band was big enough in Australia to get a major label deal. I mean, yeah, it was in 2015, but still, it's a pretty big deal. They followed that up with One Fine Day in 2017 on Metropolitan Groove. And then we have Metropolitan Groove Merchant is the name of the label. And then they did Of Bright Futures and Broken Pasts in 2020 on Carven. That's actually 2 EPs collected together as an LP. And they did an album called The Warriors Beneath Us in 2023 on 4/4 Music. So they're still an active band. It came out, that record came out 3 years ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have another record coming soon. Maybe this will be our Zeitgeist contribution. I'm sure everyone will be thankful for that. But all right, did we win?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say we won hey, I'm up $20.
Yeah.
You're not mad at that.
Yeah.
It's nothing to celebrate.
Yeah. It's a scratcher that's worth cashing in.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you want another scratcher. It's like, oh, well, I'm throwing this away. It's like, oh, it's actual money this time. I'll go get that.
I guess we should start thinking of actual lottery terms. So it would be more like, I got one number. Or I got the Powerball, but none of the other numbers, so I get $20. So I think that's how it works. It would require us to actually play some lottery to figure out what you win. But
that'll be the other side of the show is we just start actually playing the lottery.
Just become degenerate gamblers.
Yeah. Punk's laying the lotto pod.
All right, we got a system. What you do? I always see the tip of always play the same numbers, because if you're using a different one, you're just resetting your odds.
Do you even pick the numbers?
You can. I don't know. I think most people don't. I think they just go and say, I want a Powerball ticket, and they'll give you one. I think you can pick numbers, but they'll be like, what? When you ask them. It's no, we're not playing the lost numbers. Those numbers won't work. I promise. No one will ever win the lottery on those numbers. What do you rate it?
About a 2.5, I think.
I'm going to give it about a 3.25. I think that's kind of where we're at. I think I liked it a little bit more than you. It's not good enough where I'm going to come back to it, probably, or check out anything else by them. But if I was doing a project year, well, 2006 would be the year. But if next year I'm doing 2007 and their record comes up, I might listen to it then. But I'm never going to be I want to hear more Go Set. So, yeah, by the way, 20-year anniversary of this album. Maybe there'll be a deluxe reissue. Funnily, I didn't even get a date on when this was released. It just came out in 2006. But all right, I think that'll do it. So we appreciate each and every one of you. And if you're an Australian who tuned in for this episode, sorry about that. Is this band beloved? Tell us. Or are you just oh no, we just have them and we think about them at St. Patrick's Day and that's it. I'd love to know. I'd love to know what Australians thought of the Go Set or this record. So please give us feedback. You can follow us anywhere on social media at punklotopod, DM us there, or email us at punklotopod@gmail.com. We got a voicemail line, 202-688-PUNK as well. You can call us and leave us a message, and we'll play it on the show. And Dylan, where are we following you?
You can find me at Husker Dylan or Major Awards Band. I'm trying to go full Bob Seger with it. So if you play keys or saxophone or guitar, I mean, honestly, just rock and roll guitar, hit me up. Yeah, that's the future of Major Awards. Just full on dad rock.
All right, everyone, that'll do it. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we will talk to you next time.
To order Celtic Moods, call the number on your screen or send check or money order for the amount shown plus shipping and handling. Rush delivery available. Call now.